This is a presentation of Alaska Diesel Electric, the manufacturer of Lugger marine propulsion engines and Northern Lights generator sets. As part of our continuing efforts to assure our customers safety and comfort at sea, we present Don't Drown Me. Alaska Diesel Electric's Northern Lights generator sets have an international reputation for high quality. But even the best built equipment will not survive the adverse effects of an improper installation. This video is for the boat builder, shipyard operator, and vessel owner, anyone who is installing a marine generator set with a wet exhaust system. This information and many other important installation principles are covered in the Northern Lights Installation Manual, numbered IM1000. It is available from your Northern Lights dealer. If you are a first-time installer, don't proceed without reading this valuable resource. Naturally, we hope you're installing a Northern Lights. However, water ingestion is a problem for all marine sets with wet exhaust. The principles outlined here will help you avoid water ingestion in any brand of generator set you install. What do we mean by wet exhaust system? In a wet system, seawater is injected into the exhaust flowing from the generator set's engine. The water cools the exhaust gas, decreases fire danger, and effectively reduces exhaust noise. But as the tag on your set points out, improper installation can fill up the engine with water and cause severe engine damage that is not covered by warranty. Under some circumstances, water from the wet exhaust system gets into a stopped engine through the exhaust valves in the cylinder head. How much water does it take to ruin an engine? Not a gallon, not a quart. Just a few drops in the wrong place can be fatal to your engine. This cylinder head was ruined by water. Note the pitting on one cylinder versus the smooth finish on the other. Even if a water-damaged head can be saved, a valve job will be required. Water is incompressible. If enough water enters the engine, a hydraulic lock can occur. The cylinder on the left has water in it. When the engine is started, the cylinder on the right fires. This forces the piston in the watered cylinder upward with incredible force. The piston traps the water in the combustion chamber of the cylinder. Since the water cannot be compressed, something has to give. That's when the piston rod bends. The engine may continue to run, but the bent rod is weakened and will eventually break, causing irreparable damage to the engine block. This is the result of the power of combustion meeting an incompressible liquid. Now let's look at the components needed for a proper wet exhaust installation. Use a flat-type through-hull fitting for the seawater inlet. Never put a scoop-type fitting on a generator set. We will see why later. Use approved marine-grade hose throughout the system. Size the hose according to the set manufacturer's recommendation. Most Northern Lights sets use 3/4-inch inside diameter hose on the seawater inlet side and 1 1/2 or 2-inch high-temperature exhaust hose on the exhaust side. Use stainless steel hose clamps throughout the system. Double clamping joints is an added safety measure. Use a marine-grade shutoff valve on the water inlet. We recommend a bronze and stainless steel ball valve or seacock. The valve should be easy to get to in an emergency or when doing seawater system maintenance. A seawater strainer keeps trash from entering the generator's cooling system. This type, with a clear barrel, makes daily inspection easier. If the set is located near or below the water line, a siphon break is required. More on this little lifesaver later. Most vessels have some type of sound-attenuating exhaust expansion chamber. A water lift-type muffler is common. It should be made of non-corrosive, fiber-reinforced plastic and be appropriately sized for your set. Finally, proper installation requires an exhaust outlet through hull fitting. A drip ring type will keep the side of your vessel cleaner. The fitting should match the size of the exhaust outlet on the wet muffler. Don't use a reducer fitting, as it will increase exhaust back pressure. Here is how these components work in a properly installed system. The rubber impeller seawater pump sucks water through the inlet fitting and seacock, through the sea strainer, then pushes it past the closed siphon brake and into the engine's heat exchanger. The water is then injected into the flow of exhaust gases leaving the engine. The point of injection is usually at the exhaust elbow, but this can vary depending on where the generator is installed in relation to the vessel's water line. Ideally, the water injection point is a minimum of 1 foot above the water line. Water and exhaust gases flow down the exhaust hose into the water lift muffler. Inside the muffler, the water is at the level of the outlet pipe. The velocity of the exhaust gases carry droplets of water up the outlet hose. When the droplets hit the loop at the top of the hose, they coalesce and fall down and out the exhaust through hull fitting. If a wet exhaust system builds up pressure and releases in a gush, as this one is doing, there is a problem. Chances are the water is being trapped somewhere in the system, and the engine is having to build up excessive back pressure to force the water out. In a well-designed system, the water flow out the outlet will be even and continuous. Looks simple, right? So how can water get into the engine? Well, there are several ways. First is the use of a scoop-type water inlet fitting. When a vessel is underway with its generator shut down, a scoop-type through hull forces water past the seawater pump, into the heat exchanger, down the exhaust hose, and into the muffler. Since there is no exhaust to purge the muffler, it fills with water. Water will then back up the exhaust hose and enter the engine through an open exhaust valve. The solution? Never use a scoop-type through hull on a generator-set water intake. Only use flat-type fittings. The second problem is water traps in the exhaust hose. The exhaust hose between the engine and the muffler must slope downward at a minimum of 1/2 inch per foot, with a minimum overall drop of 1 foot. For safe operation, there must be no water traps in the hose. This installation appears to be acceptable. Look again. This small amount of water retained in the slight dip in the hose looks harmless, but it's not. Every time a sailboat heels over, every time a boat pitches and rolls, as long as the generator set is turned off, there is a potential of that trapped water getting into the engine. Keep those water-trapping dips out of your exhaust hoses. Here is a good rule of thumb. Design your system so that when your generator set is shut down, all the water in the exhaust system drains either out of the exhaust outlet or into the muffler. Remember that siphon brake we mentioned earlier? If the generator set is installed low in the vessel, you will need to install an automatic air vent between the seawater pump and the heat exchanger. This vent is called a siphon brake. Find where the cooling water is injected into the exhaust hose. If this point is less than 1 foot above the water line when the vessel is fully loaded, the set is vulnerable to siphoning problems and needs to have a siphon brake installed. Thanks to a natural phenomenon known as the siphon effect, water can flow uphill. Atmospheric pressure forces the water up the inlet hose of a shut-down generator set. It can go past the seawater pump, filling the exhaust system, and then into the engine. There's even a chance that the water can run out the engine's air inlet and fill up the engine room of an unattended vessel. The valve in the siphon brake opens automatically when the engine is shut down. It lets air into the water line, breaking the vacuum. No vacuum means no siphon and no damage. Remember, siphon brakes require periodic maintenance. It should be checked every time the oil is changed. Make it easy on your customer and install it for easy service access. Also remember that it is normal for the valve to leak a little water each time the generator starts. Another major problem area is the installation of the outlet hose running from the water lift muffler to the exhaust through hull. There must be a loop in the exhaust hose that extends a minimum of 1 foot above the exhaust outlet. The outlet should be at least 1 foot above the water line when the vessel is fully loaded. This keeps water from coming in through the outlet and filling up the exhaust system. Again, remember to keep a 1/2 inch per foot slope without water traps between the top of the loop and the through hull outlet. This section of the system is also the cause of back pressure problems. 4 feet is the maximum vertical lift between the base of the water lift muffler and the top of the exhaust loop. Any more than this may cause excessive back pressure. This does not lead to water in the engine, but it will cause other types of engine problems, especially on turbocharged engines. When installing a set below the vessel's waterline, you must take special precautions. If you are installing a set so low that you need more than a 4-foot rise to reach the outlet, then you must use a combination dry-wet system. This type of installation is covered in the Northern Lights installation manual and Don't Drown Me pamphlet. Though not an installation problem, overcranking of the generator set's starter can fill the engine with water. When the engine is turned over with the starter motor, the seawater pump is pumping. Since there is no exhaust pressure being created, the muffler will eventually fill and water will back up into the engine. See your operator's manual for proper starting procedures. If your set has a preheat system, use it. Hold the preheat switch on for 10 seconds. Without releasing the preheat switch, press the starter button for no more than 10 seconds. If the engine does not start quickly, repeat the preheat process. Under no circumstances crank the engine for more than a total of 60 seconds. See the troubleshooting section of your manual and fix the starting problem. Here's what to do if you must crank the engine longer than 60 combined seconds. Close the seacock and remove the impeller from the seawater pump. Drain the water lift muffler. Once the engine starts, immediately shut it off. Reinstall the impeller using a new gasket. Restart the engine and check the exhaust outlet to make sure that water is flowing. Let's quickly review the points you need to remember. 1. Read the manual before you install the set. 2. Use a flat through hull fitting. Scoops are for ice cream. 3. Use approved marine-grade hose, valves, fittings, and stainless steel hose clamps. 4. Install a siphon brake if the water injection point is less than 1 foot above the water line. 5. Slope exhaust hose downward at least 1/2 inch per foot. 6. Maximum 4-foot lift from the bottom of the water lift muffler to the top of the exhaust loop. 7. Minimum 1-foot drop from the top of the exhaust loop to the exhaust outlet. 8. Don't overcrank your engine. 9. There are no stupid questions. If you're not sure, please ask your dealer or factory representative. 10. First-time installers, have your job inspected by an authorized Northern Lights dealer. Water ingestion can only happen if the set is improperly installed. The Northern Lights Limited Warranty excludes any damage caused by water ingestion. As the installer of a marine generator, any damage caused by water ingestion is your responsibility. This responsibility could become a liability. An expensive liability, both in dollars and customer satisfaction. Users should be aware of the potential hazards and make sure their sets are properly operated and the exhaust system is properly maintained. If, due to space limitations or equipment layout problems, you cannot meet the requirements described in this tape and the installation manual, please make a sketch of your installation and send it to Alaska Diesel Electric by mail or fax. We are glad to make recommendations that will help you do an installation that won't drown your generator. This program was produced by Alaska Diesel Electric. We manufacture Northern Lights marine and industrial generator sets from 5 to 750 kilowatts and Lugger marine engines from 60 to 1,300 horsepower. Providing the world with marine and industrial power systems is our business, our only business. Questions or comments on this program's content and orders for additional copies may be sent to this address.